All right, today we are digging into a vegetable with a surprisingly epic history that also happens to be incredibly simple to grow in your own backyard. Yep, we're talking about the humble but mighty turnip. So, when you picture a turnip, what really comes to mind? For a lot of people, it's kind of this boring, maybe bland root vegetable, right? Well, what if I told you this little plant has been a literal lifesaver for humanity for thousands of years? Let's peel back the layers. That's right. This isn't just some random veggie you see at the store. It's a living piece of our agricultural history. So when you plant a turnip, you're not just gardening, you're actually connecting with a tradition that goes back thousands and thousands of years. Pretty cool, huh? I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows the sheer resilience of this thing. We're talking about a crop cultivated for 6,000 years. It was praised by the Romans, it was a staple food that got people through the Middle Ages, and it even became a symbol of survival during the infamous turnip winter of World War I. This isn't just a vegetable. This thing is a survivor. Okay, so maybe you're inspired by all that history and you've decided to grow your own. Awesome. Your very first step is to pick a variety because, as you're about to see, not all turnips are created equal. And you've got some amazing choices. There's the purple top white globe. That's the classic one you're probably picturing. If you want something a bit sweeter, the golden ball is fantastic for roasting. Got a small garden? Tokyo Cross is a hybrid that matures super fast. And get this, for eating raw, maybe sliced thin in a salad, the Oasis variety has this delicate, almost fruity flavor. Once you've chosen your champion, it is time to prepare the battlefield, or, your garden bed. And honestly, getting the soil right is probably the single most important thing you can do for a successful harvest. You've got to remember, turnips need room to grow down. They love full sun and loose, well-drained soil. So before you plant anything, take the time to work in some good compost and loosen that soil at least a foot deep. This gives those roots a clear path to expand and, just as importantly, it prevents water from sitting around and rotting them. Sowing the seeds themselves could not be easier. Seriously, you're just going to rake the soil so it's nice and smooth, pop the seeds in about half an inch deep, and give them a few inches of space from each other. Then a gentle watering to settle them in, and that's it. You're on your way. All right, the seeds are in the ground. Now for the really fun part, watching them grow. And the best news is, turnips are fast. You will not be waiting long to see some action. And when I say fast, I mean fast. You'll probably see sprouts in about a week. Within a month, you'll need to be thinning your seedlings, more on that in a sec. And then in as little as 50 days, you could be pulling up your very first harvest. It is so satisfying to watch. Now listen up, because if there is one secret to a delicious turnip, it's this. Consistent watering. If you let that soil dry out, the roots can turn woody and bitter or even split right open. It can also stress the plant out and cause it to bolt. That's when it gives up on the root and prematurely sends up a flower stalk to make seeds. So just keep the soil moist and you'll be rewarded with sweet, tender turnips. Okay, so about a month in, you'll need to do something that feels a little bit counterintuitive, a little brutal. It's called thinning. It just means pulling out some of the smaller seedlings. I know, it's tough, but it is absolutely essential. If you don't give the remaining plants enough space, about 4 to 6 inches, the roots are just going to crowd each other out and they'll never swell up to a good size. Growing turnips is pretty easy, but you're not the only one who thinks they're tasty. And as one of our sources warns, pests can be a major, major problem, especially when those plants are young and vulnerable. But don't you worry, you have options, simple things too. Floating row covers can keep flying pests like cabbage moths and flea beetles off your plants. A shallow dish of beer, that's an old school but really effective trap for slugs and snails. And here's a clever one. You can plant a trap crop like spinach nearby. Aphids will go for that first, leaving your turnips alone. So you've prepared, you've planted, you've protected your crop. Now it is time for the absolute best part, the harvest. And with turnips, you get this fantastic 2-for-1 deal. So, how do you know when they're ready? Well, you're aiming for roots that are about 2 to 3 inches across. Think roughly the size of a tennis ball. Don't be tempted to let them get huge. Bigger turnips often turn woody and lose that sweet, tender quality we're after. Pro tip, you can gently brush away the soil at the top of a root to check its size without pulling the whole thing up. And this is that amazing 2-for-1 deal I was talking about. You get the delicious roots, of course, perfect for roasting or stews, but the leafy tops are also totally edible and packed with nutrients. You can cook them just like you would spinach. You can even harvest a few leaves here and there while the root is still growing.
And hey, here's a little pro tip for you if you want to keep that harvest coming. Because they grow so quickly, you can do something called succession planting. It's simple. Just sow a new, small batch of seeds every 2 or 3 weeks. Do that, and you'll have a continuous supply of fresh turnips all season long.
So there you have it. The turnip is so much more than just some forgotten root vegetable, right? It's a 6,000-year-old survival story that's surprisingly easy to grow. It gives you 2 harvests from one plant, and it connects your garden right back to our shared agricultural past. It's really the perfect crop for beginners and seasoned gardeners alike. So the only question left is, what are you going to plant next?